Hello. In this session, we will be looking at the anterior cranial fossa. Now, this is the skull with the skull cap removed. So, this enables us to look at the interior of the base of the skull. Now, as we can see, there are depressions here on the interior of the base of the skull. We call these the cranial fossa. So, there is an anterior cranial fossa, a middle cranial fossa, and a posterior cranial fossa. You might be able to note that these cranial fossae are at different levels. For example, the anterior cranial fossa is the shallowest, while the posterior cranial fossa is the deepest. Let us take a closer look at the anterior cranial fossa. So think about the bones that are making up the anterior cranial fossa. You could pause and try to list the bones. Yes, you are right. There is the frontal bone, the sphenoid, and the ethmoidal bone in the midline. The anterior cranial fossa is bounded by the frontal bone anteriorly and laterally. Posteriorly, there is this sharp posterior border of the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, the anterior clinoid process, and this part which is the anterior border of the sulcus chiasmaticus. So here again we have the anterior clinoid process, and this again is the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. So what are the features of the anterior cranial fossa? In the midline, we can see this linear elevation of bone. It is called the frontal crest. A fold of dura mater called the falx cerebri is attached to the frontal crest. Posterior to the frontal crest, there is this foramen here. We call this the foramen cecum. It transmits an emissary vein from the nasal cavity to the superior sagittal sinus. Posterior to the foramen cecum is this quadrilateral part of bone which is called the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. On the anterior part of this, there is this linear elevation which looks like a cock's comb, and we call this the crista galli. The anterior end of the falx cerebri is attached here. The cribriform plate has numerous fine foramina through which the olfactory nerves pass from the roof of the nasal cavity into the cranial cavity to reach the olfactory bulb which rests here. The openings of the anterior and the posterior ethmoidal canals are also seen on the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. Posterior to the ethmoid bone, the cribriform plate of the ethmoid, we come across this smooth portion here which belongs to the superior surface of the body of the sphenoid bone, and it is called the jugum sphenoidale. It is called the jugum sphenoidale, and this part separates the sphenoidal sinuses from the anterior cranial fossa. Laterally, we can see that this is the lesser wing of sphenoid, and it is attached by two roots to the body of the sphenoid bone, encompassing the optic canal. The anterior clinoid process gives attachment to the free margin of the tentorium cerebelli, which is another fold of dura mater. The posterior border of the lesser wing of sphenoid is related to the lateral sulcus of the cerebrum. Laterally in the anterior cranial fossa, we have the orbital plates of the frontal bone. And you can see that they have irregular elevations and depressions which correspond to the sulci and gyri of the orbital surface of the frontal lobe of the cerebrum. Fractures of the anterior cranial fossa in the midline can lead to CSF rhinorrhea. Fractures of the orbital plate of the frontal bone can lead to what is called a black eye